Okay, folks, we're approaching our last hour. We have 4 remaining presenters, and again, I'll remind you that if you'd like to get your questions answered, please try to write your questions if you're in the room before the end of the presentation. If you're in Zoom, please go into the Q&A box. Our next presenter, I'm pleased to introduce Ruben Martinez, is director of the Julian Samora Research Institute, and I think that Ruben will all queued up. Here is the changer. The right is to advance.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Ruben.
Gracias. Buenos días. Anybody reached the satiation point yet? I'm Ruben Martinez. I'm the director of the Julian Samora Research Institute and also a professor of sociology, focusing on mainly social inequality, race relations. What I want to do today is share with you 2 bales of hay. Right. Last time I was here, I had 25 slides. Today I have 5 and 2 bales of hay. That's how Rich mandated it, right? So what I'm going to do first is talk a little bit about our mission. The Julian Samora Research Institute is approaching its 30th anniversary. We are the premier research institute in the Midwest focusing on Latinos, which you know is the 2nd largest population group in the country. It is also the most unconnected population group to our core institutions in society. And to drive that point home, just think about how often you actually serve or work with Latinos, right? Used to say that they were disconnected, but you know that implied that they were at one time connected. But now I just say they're unconnected because there are no connections to those core institutions. Speed that. What we do is to generate, disseminate, and apply knowledge relative to Latino communities. So we're always generating, disseminating, and applying. And right now we've got activities going on across all of those areas. Right? In terms of our goals, what we try to do is build research capacity, greater and greater research capacity, so that we can actually carry out our mission. Generally, when people ask me what is it that the Institute does, I say we try to do for Latinos what all of higher education does for America, right? Because basically that's the way it works out. And in terms of this, we try to build, we engage the community. We also try to build networks. We work with students, we work with colleagues, and we're doing research both regionally and nationally. Just to give you an example, we have, we're now in our 6th or 7th year of an interstate initiative called Latinos and Immigrant Communities in the Midwest, in which we focus in 5 different areas with colleagues across the Midwest. And then we have a conference in, usually with the University of Missouri in Columbia or in St. Louis, depending on which campus they want to use, to share both the research results, the applied results, and also to talk with policymakers, community people who are engaged actively in the community to address issues and so forth. Our research emphases are 3. We try to focus on the service delivery gaps that exist between service providers and Latino communities. We also focus on entrepreneurship, which we believe is one of the core areas in which we can move Latinos to the core of our institutions, to the core of an economy. And we've done several studies. And actually the first exhibit on Latino auto workers in the country, we did it with their work here with the UAW and so on. And also we focus on health disparities, which is one of the critical areas and one of the critical challenges facing Latino communities across the country. I think we have, next to Native Americans, the highest rate of diabetes in our community. So we have a lot to work on there. So the 2 bales of hay that I'm going to talk about today are Mastitis Prevention and dairy farms. We're working with colleagues in veterinary medicine. And the other one is Latino Farmers-Livelihood strategies. And so we're going to talk briefly about each one. Mastitis prevention is about reducing the incidence of mastitis on the dairy farms so that the quality of milk improves, the productivity of the farms increases, and the economic cost to treating cows is reduced, right? And then ripple effect of that is that there's less use of antibiotics on the dairy farms because that's what's used to treat mastitis. And there's some increasing concern about antibiotic residue in our meats because, as all of you know, once the milking cow is done as the milker, she becomes food on our table, right? And the FDA has conducted a few studies which showed that there was increasing levels of residue. But in the last study, which we've waited for with bated breath, came out a couple of years ago, and it didn't really show that much increase. So we're feeling good about that. The project is revealing some other critical issues. First of all, when it comes to vet med, we already know how to prevent mastitis, right? The only problem is that there's not that connection to the human side, because who's doing the milking? Humans, right? Yeah, robotics is coming into place, but it's not really as prevalent and widespread as one would think. So the real issue is to try to work with the milkers to make sure that the prep is going on, that the milking machines are hooked up right, all of that kind of stuff, and that they're not spreading the disease from one to the other. The result is that because of some changes in the industry, is that we have a decline in the number of family-owned farms, an increase in the agribusiness dairy farms, if you will. And once you make that transition, what you find is that family farms use family help, agribusiness farms use hired help. And so what's happened here is that two things. One, nobody really knows how to manage labor on these farms, because those who have experience managing a farm manage their family, right? And that's a different way of managing hired labor. The other part of it is that the majority of milkers now are Latinos from south of the border, and we have a major communication gap on the farms. The result being that if you want to reduce mastitis and prevent it on the farms, you have to work with labor, which they should have been doing anyway, even if they were English speaking, right? So one of the big things that we're doing there is helping the workers understand the why of what they do and why they should be doing it, and how doing it properly is very important. The other one is a study that we're focusing on in the livelihood strategies of Latino farmers in Michigan and Missouri and in Iowa. We are the largest of those states that has Latino farms, and the result is that we have the more mature farms. So I get to study the more mature farms. And what we're trying to do here is close the gaps. What are their needs, and what is the capacity of those who are providing services to farmers? What capacities do they have, and what are their needs in being able to close the gap? So that's what we're doing with this one. We're now launching some focus groups, interviews, surveys, and so on. And then we'll be meeting with our colleagues in Iowa and in Missouri to go over our findings. We continue to do work. We have a publication series on the webpage. Postdoc Juan Coronado, Dr. Juan Coronado is distributing our NEXO newsletter, which is a research newsletter. We continue to work with the Latinos and Immigrants in Midwestern Communities. We have expertise in demographics, diversity leadership. We're helping, actually we have a diversity leadership certificate program in the unit right now. And so these are the areas that we're working in. And we welcome collaboration with all of our colleagues here at MSU. As you can see, we're working with colleagues at other institutions. And we are working with many segments of our community and other communities here in the state and region. That's it. Leaving time for more questions.
There's a question being written, but while you're doing that,
okay.
Here is it's a little different than what you talked about.
Most white Americans who work in food systems are not aware of the Placebo program historically in the U.S. And so a few words about it. The Placebo program was the, I don't know, probably the second generation. We have had guest programs in this country since before World War II. The Placebo program was the program that came into being in 1942, I believe, to meet the labor demands that resulted from people going off to war. The result being that it was perpetuated over time until 1963, I believe, at the end of 63, because farmers found it very convenient to use that labor force, which oftentimes happened to them, what's happening today through the H-2A programs and so forth. Workers were exploited, not paid adequately, made to live in inadequate housing, and so all of those things continue today. And today's Bracero program is really the H-2A program, and that is increasing here in Michigan. We've seen probably a tripling of the number of H-2A workers coming into the state.
One more. Again, if you could repeat the question.
Could you describe your approach to addressing health issues via policy?
Well, we're looking at, right now we're developing a project, for example, on looking at healthcare providers not healthcare providers, family caretakers of members who have Alzheimer's. And so what we're doing there is trying to see how we can find ways by which resources can be allocated to families who are providing that kind of care to their family member, because, like I said, they're not connected to the institutions that provide those services. So it's being done in the home by family, and that has a tremendous economic impact on them. Plus, there needs to be a lot of education of those caretakers so that they understand really what's going on with their loved one. And oftentimes they really don't know. I mean, they actually get into conflicts with them, which the person who's ill doesn't even remember the conflict a little bit later, right? So it's important that these caretakers find the social programs that are available to help them do the best work that they can with their loved ones.
Thank you.